Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to create Floral Fury inside of a mint container. First things first, we need the background. I was able to find the actual background from the game and printed it on some sticky paper. Now we're going to be building this inside of an Altoid container. I've done a few of these in the past, but nothing from CUPHEAD. I want this to be higher up, so to bulk it up, I'm using some leftover clay from other projects and topping it off with some tan. Now it's time for this to go into the oven. Yeah, I should probably wait till it cools down. Using two different shades of green, I'm going to create this teardrop shape and twist it in order to create the look of some vines. I'm going to give the arms the exact same treatment, and then we can attach those onto the body. I don't usually like to use wires, but this is a simple one and it will help to hold up this massive head. Since the flower petals in the back are orange, I decided to add an orange backing, which you'll soon see was completely unnecessary. After brushing his teeth with some acetone, which I don't recommend, we can make the indents for all of the individual teeth. Something I didn't notice until this boss specifically is that a lot of CUPHEAD bosses have long pointy noses. And something else about this boss is that it's the only one I can think of that doesn't actually have the Pac-Man eyes that we see on so many CUPHEAD characters. I'm sure there's others, but nothing I can think of at the moment. This is why I said it was kind of pointless to put the orange background on, but now we have two orange backgrounds stacked on top of each other. Instead of making individual flower petals, I decided to go for this fan design because I don't think the individual petals would stay up very well. Let's stab a hole into the bottom of the head so we can attach that onto the wire. I want to give the flower petals a little bit of action, so I'm curling them up and supporting them with some foil. And now we are ready to get baked. After getting that into place, we can work on the vines. I didn't have much of a system while doing this. I kind of just kept swirling vines of different colors together until we got a nice lumpy mass. And I also added in a really bright shade of green, which I think kind of just ties everything together. This stage contains 3 floating platforms, but we can't really just make platforms float, so I'm adding in these vines to hold them up, which does happen in the battle, but not all 3 at the same time. Whenever I need to cut a perfect circle that's relatively small, I look at different types of caps from things, and I can usually find something that works. In this case, a permanent marker was the perfect size for what I needed. These are the floating platforms I mentioned, and they look like little mushrooms. On the top, we can add in some green for the propellers. It was a little hard to get the platforms in there before baking the clay, but I knew I would not be able to make this work after baking. Something that I should have done but didn't think of is adding in these little spikes before I baked it. So instead, we're gonna have to glue those on after the final bake. I've made CUPHEAD before, I've also made Mugman and Miss Chalice, but I've never made it quite this tiny. This entire figure can fit on top of my fingernail. There's no way I was gonna actually be able to make hands, so I'm just adding in some little balls. Here's our little drinking straw. I think this cup would hold about 4 to 5 drops. Finally, the tiny little Pac-Man eyes, and CUPHEAD is ready to get baked. After baking, like I mentioned, we have to super glue these spikes onto the vines. I also forgot to add a few of these onto the boss, and now we can take CUPHEAD and CUPHEAD's CUPHEAD and glue them together, place them onto the platform, and that is our final details. So here it is, CUPHEAD versus Cagney Carnation. This is the most fun I've had making a video in quite a while. and it's one I've been wanting to do since I first started making the Cuphead bosses. If you want to check out the other Altoid tin creations I've made, you can click on the link at the end of this video. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.